Fake Trade Friday. That's what's happening today. We're talking about Cam Johnson, who has been reportedly on the trade block. And the Nets are looking for draft capital for the three-point marksman. I love Cam Johnson. Wanted him coming out the draft. I think it'd be awesome to have that young player. Will to go Gottlieb. It's Fake Trade Friday, so please tell us how this can happen.
So we all know the Bulls are not a team that is interested in being bad. They want to be good. They want to go for it. Yeah. And Cam Johnson is an elite shooter. He's a forward. He adds size. He also has shown at times like more shot creation and an ability to get his own offense. And I think with the Bulls in their system that they're trying to install and really double down on like speed and three-point shooting, he would be a really good fit. You could imagine him playing kind of like, I think Modest is more of like a combo 3-4, and so having another guy that's a combo 3-4 works well together. Yes. He was also Coby White's teammate in college, as you mentioned. So
wow, bro.
I think he'd be a really interesting fit, and I think he's a guy that on a $20 million a year contract for 2 more years, he's going to be very valued around the league. And so the Nets are going to be looking for ways to get into this draft with another lottery pick. I believe they have 19, 26, 27, and some second-round picks in addition to the 8th overall pick. So I think for them, quantity is nice, but quality is better. And so they're looking for a way to attach maybe those 26th and 27th overall picks to Cam Johnson to move into the lottery. And if you're the Bulls and there's no one you really are in love with at 12, maybe Cam Johnson is a better solution there, who's on a reasonable contract, who can help your team win now and really fit into the style that you're looking for.
And I think that's what gets me is the win now factor. We know AK has definitely stated that he wants to win now. He doesn't want to start over. The draft is for kind of starting over. So why not, like you said, get this piece who could be a ready-made guy, who could definitely help out guys like Coby White, who could definitely help out guys like Josh Giddey by spreading the floor, taking the defender with him, using his size and length on both ends of the floor. I think it'd be a good deal for him, man. So how could this happen, Will to go Gottlieb? Please regale us with your tales on Fake Trade Friday.
It is time to play with my favorite toy, which is the trade machine.
Let's go.
Katie, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up so we can see what the Bulls roster looks like and what the Nets roster looks like and how we might be able to make this work. So I think obviously the key pieces here are Cam Johnson going to the Bulls from the Nets. And he's over there.
Hello, Cameron. Put him right there.
And then, obviously, from the Bulls, what the Nets are looking for is
Patrick
the 12th
Williams.
overall pick.
Oh,
so
okay.
you got to add that in there. It's possible. We might get there.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so if we just did it this way, the Bulls would be taking on $20 million of salary. That's obviously not feasible. So how do we salary match or offload some amount of money to make this a legal trade? You said it. Patrick Williams.
Let's go.
Throw him in there. So now this is an opportunity, I think, for not just the Bulls, getting a good player with one of their draft picks, but it's also a plus to be able to get off of Patrick Williams' money. Obviously, at the time he signed that deal, I didn't think it was a bad idea. It's a flat contract.
Sure.
It's going to look like mid-level exception money. And he just really underperformed that. So if you're a rebuilding team like the Nets, maybe you look at Patrick Williams, former 4th overall pick. He had a rough year. Let's call this a reclamation project.
Ooh.
Let's get him in our building and see if we can turn him into a player. They've done a similar thing in years past with guys like Zaire Williams. So maybe that's of value to them. But I do think that Patrick Williams plus 12 is now not enough value to get Cam Johnson. So
Agreed.
I think now, even though the money is starting to look a little bit more close and workable, I do think the Bulls are going to have to add a little bit more in terms of value. So
to make it more attractive.
Let's throw in one of the Bulls, young rotation wings. I'm thinking probably Julian Phillips. Maybe you could talk me into Dalen Terry, but a guy who the Nets could see as a young building block moving forward. So
I would say Julian probably a little more enticing for the
exactly.
Nets.
He's on a smaller contract, and he, I think, just as an archetype of a 3-and-D wing, makes a little bit more sense. So let's throw him over there. And then I think you're probably going to need to attach a second-round pick too.
And because they are looking for capital.
Exactly. They're looking for draft capital, and I think the Bulls are probably looking to consolidate roster spots. This would be a way to do that. So let's throw in that second-round pick from Sacramento, number 45 overall this year.
Let me ask you, when does this start to feel heavy for you as far as what the Bulls are giving up?
I think we're getting to that point, and I think it kind of depends on how you view Patrick Williams. Is he a severe negative, like in terms of Is he one of the worst contracts in the league?
Yes.
Or is he, just a guy who underperformed and somebody who they could, not necessarily view as a positive, but as a rebuilding team view as somebody who could really help them. And I think it's probably, for a team like the Nets, it probably falls into that second category. But if I'm the Bulls, I'm asking to get back into the first round. So let's look at some of the picks. And that was really the report too, of the Nets looking to attach some of their later first round picks to Cam Johnson in order to move up into the lottery. So if we click on the picks on the Nets side, we can see that they have, I believe it's 19. They obviously have 8, which the Bulls are not going to get there, but 19 from the Bucks, 26 from the Knicks, 27 from the Rockets, and in the second round, 36. I would say the Bulls should be asking for 19, but like that's probably too much. So maybe
start high.
Maybe 26 or 27. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree 100% with you. You start high with the asking of what you want, but I'm very comfortable landing at 26 or 27. Walking away with a first round pick with a guy that I revere like Cam Johnson, I think is definitely a win for the Chicago Bulls. So yeah, either 26 or 27, walking away with that. Hopefully Cedric Coward's still there and we get someone like that is with it. But yeah, I think that's very solid if the Nets are willing to do it.
Yeah, let's do 26 just because like 27's a little bit worse, obviously, but 19 I think is a little too strong.
Sure.
And this puts the Nets in a position where now they're getting another lottery pick, which like not all first round picks are created equal. Getting, the 12th pick compared to the 26th or 27th if they traded him to a good team, like this I think does provide more value for them. And they avoid having to pay Cam Johnson his next contract. And they also now have 8, 12, 19, 27, 36, and 45. They can package some of those together to maybe move up again or kick the can down the road and get a future first-round pick. So, Katie, can you just try this trade out and see if it works, see if it's legal?
Click it. As she rolls up. Try the trade. Success.
Great success.
It's success. Success. Yay.
So the Bulls are saving a little bit of money here. The Nets are taking on some money. They're getting 2 young players that they can convince themselves are, worthwhile, and 2 draft picks, including one in the lottery, which I think really helps them. Now maybe you can consolidate some of those and move up into the top 10, move up from 8 into 5 or 6 and get a guy that you really like, or maybe even 4 if they really want Ace Bailey. Or like I said, package some of those picks and get a future first round pick to help just kick the can down the road. So
so I was going to say it definitely sets them up for the future, lets you know what their team is going to be going into next season. Offloading a guy like Cam, who honestly has star potential, and bringing back guys like Julian Phillips and Patrick Williams who still have things to work on, but also getting that draft capital. Yeah, they're preparing for the future while the Bulls are playing for now.
The Bulls they're playing for now. They're getting a guy who fits their system, who shoots threes, who creates more space on the perimeter for a Josh Giddey drive, for a Coby White drive, or even for Modest Buzelis, who hopefully gets some more on-ball reps next year. And you stay in the first round. You get another pick. For me, this draft kind of flattens out in the late teens. And so maybe you can get a guy at 26 that is the 19th player on your board or something like that.
And we always know AK likes drafting a little later in the draft. So maybe he's got his eye on some potential a little later in that round, man. So I like the trade. I think it's a very fair trade. Let's see if the Nets actually really think it is, because they'll have a lot of suitors for a guy like Cam Johnson.
And tell us what you think in the comments.
Yes, let us know. Fake Trade Friday, y'all.